Welcome back. We're going to continue on with bylaw number 1814, roadway licensing bylaw. Is that correct?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I have a few roadway licensing bylaws for you for first reading. The first one I have is bylaw number 1814. Administration is seeking approval for roadway license bylaw number 1814, authorizing the MD of Bonnyville to enter into an agreement to license a road allowance east of the southeast of 20, 61 of 6, and south of Railway Plan 1210EO in accordance with policy 3A.018, as shown on the map on Appendix A. Bylaw number 1814 is a renewal of his existing road allowance lease bylaw number 1719, and our records show that the applicants have been leasing this road allowance since 2005. The applicants have applied to license the road allowance as there is no public access to this road allowance. As well, the east parcel accesses through the west parcel by way of an easement agreement with a driveway crossing over the road allowance. A copy of the application to license was provided to Infrastructure Services and Agricultural Services for review and recommendation, and there were no concerns. Therefore, administration is recommending that council give first reading to bylaw number 1814.
Thank you. Looking for a motion? Yes, Councillor Crick. Okay.
First reading.
Thank you, Councillor Crick, for making a motion on behalf of council that bylaw number 1814, being a bylaw of the municipal district of Bonnyville number 87, roadway licensing, be given first reading. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Carried. Also looking for a motion for public hearing for 1814. Yes. Thank you, Councillor Scarson, for making a motion on behalf of council that council approves December 14th, 2022 at 10:05 a.m. as the date and time for the bylaw number 1814 public hearing. Any discussion on this?
Yeah, just on a
Yes,
question,
go ahead.
Mr. Reid. Just 2005, they've had this lease,
Correct, yep.
and so I guess we're just picking up on them now, right? Because
Nope.
wouldn't they be 3-year lease or no?
They have applied every year for 3 years.
Oh,
so-
okay.
Yep,
Yeah, no, that's good. Thanks.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried. On to 9.3.4.
So the next one I have for you is bylaw number 1815. Administration is seeking approval for roadway license bylaw number 1815, authorizing the MD of Bonnyville to enter into an agreement to license the road allowance east of the east half of 18, 6304, west of the 4th Meridian, in accordance with policy number 3A-018, as shown on the map on Appendix A. Bylaw number 1815 is a renewal of an existing road allowance lease bylaw number 1721. The applicants have applied to license a road allowance to be used for grazing purposes. A copy of the application to license was provided to Infrastructure Services and Agricultural Services for review and recommendation, and there were no concerns. So we are recommending that council give first reading to bylaw number 1815.
Okay, thank you. Looking
I'll
for
make that
first reading.
motion.
Yeah, oh, thank you, Councillor Slipchuk, for making the motion on behalf of council that bylaw number 1815, being a bylaw of the municipal district of Bonnyville number 87, roadway licensing, given first reading. Any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you. Also looking for public hearing for 1815. Okay, thank you, Councillor Kraviak, for making a motion on behalf of council. The council approves December 14, 2022 at 10:10 a.m. as the date and time for bylaw number 1815 public hearing. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Carried. Thank you. We're on to 9.3.5, 1816.
So this is my last road licensing bylaw today for bylaw number 1816. It's for approval of roadway license bylaw number authorizing the MD of Bonnyville to enter into agreement to license the road allowance west of legal subdivision 12 of section 11, 63 of 3, west of the 4th, in accordance with policy 3A-018, as shown on Appendix A. Bylaw number 1816 is a renewal of an existing road allowance bylaw, number 1724. The applicant has applied to license the road allowance to be used for gravel pit access and operations for existing surface material leases. A copy of the application to license was provided to Infrastructure Services and Agricultural Services for review and recommendation, and there were no concerns. So administration is recommending council give first reading.
Thank you. Looking for a motion from council. Thank you, Councillor Swigert, for making that motion on behalf of council that bylaw number 1816 being a bylaw of the municipal district of Bonnyville, number 87 roadway license be given first reading. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Now I'm looking for a public hearing for 1816. Yes, Councillor Swigert, thank you for, on behalf of council, that council approves December 14th, 2022 at 10:15 a.m. as a date and time for bylaw number 1816 public hearing. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried.
Perfect,
Thank you. Appreciate it. 9.36 concert license for Summer Rush.
So administration has received an application from a landowner for a license to conduct an outdoor concert within the MD of Bonnyville in accordance with our MD bylaw number 808. The Wild North Eclectic Society is a not-for-profit organization requesting this license for the second annual Summer Rush Music Festival to be held on the property located at 63115A, Range Road 415A, from August 25th to 27th, 2023. This is the second year of applying for the license through the municipality, and given the controlled success of the 2022 event, the society is applying to have the event at the same location and in the same format. For example, having camping on site, being a family-friendly event, and having a limited number of tickets, as well as farmers market type of market. The attendance of the festival will be a maximum of 500 general tickets, plus the addition of approximately 100 musical artists, volunteers, and vendors. The Summer Rush Festival will provide opportunity to highlight and support a variety of local talent, as well as small businesses, such as artisans and whatnot, as noted in Appendix B. The date and times of the concert is Friday, August 25th. Main stage will run from 4 p.m. until 11:30 with live bands. DJ will run from 11:30 p.m. until 1 a.m. Saturday is 1 p.m. to 11:30 again with live music, and again the 11:30 p.m. to 1 a.m. with the DJ. And then the Sunday is just a 2-hour live music session. Attached for council's review is a copy of bylaw number 808. As well in Appendix B is the full license application and attachments. And Appendix C has a copy of the aerial and location map. The cost, which was paid by the applicant, was a $100 application fee. And administration is recommending that council approves the applications for this license to the Wild North Eclectic Society to conduct the Summer Rush Music Festival on the property located at 63115A, Range Road 415A, for August 25th through 27th, 2023.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Deputy Reeve Fadeev.
Yeah, it was a very positive event. A lot of people from out of town came in for that. I definitely want to make a motion for option number 1. Is there a way, I just want to kind of throw it out, is there a way for us to get rid of some of the red tape in regards to this, unless there's unless it's complaint driven or anything like that? Because I know there has been some concerns about things getting busier and booking next year's venue, the year after that, and a little bit of a feeding frenzy as far as artists go, and missing that window of opportunity.
Through the Reeve, so there is actually currently in the bylaw, there is no timeline associated with when they can apply. So for example, if they chose to, they could technically apply for the next 2 years instead of just 1 year.
Gotcha.
So there is no time frame limitation on the bylaw. However, from an administrative point of view, there are certain things that would require, there's a lot of reference in the application to, for example, working with RCMP, or they will be getting the necessary permits. We are recommending approval subject to those permits getting
Yep.
received. So as long as that follow-up is done, then there is no reason that they couldn't apply for multiple years.
So right now, they could apply for multiple years depending on given the dates.
Correct.
Awesome. Okay, I think that alleviates a lot
timing.
of the stuff, yeah, for sure.
Through the Reeve, I know from organizing many concerts in my past, it is a timing issue. Agents and bands do want as much leeway and time as possible.
Right, because, yeah, a lot of these bands come from Edmonton and area, so, yeah, it's just getting that draw here, and yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Yeah, Councillor Crick.
Was there any, I know last year when we approved this, there was a gentleman here that had come and spoke in opposition due to the noise. Was there any further complaints or anything brought up in that regards?
Through the Reeve, there was no complaints after the event that we were notified about.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Deputy Reeve Fideo, for making the motion on behalf of council. The council approves the application for license for the Wild North Electric Society and to conduct the Summer Rush Music Festival on the property located at 63115A Range Road 415A for August 25th, 26th, 27th, 2023. Any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you. On to 9.3.7.
I will ask Mr. Scott Kovach to come forward and present our next one. Thank you. Okay.
I was going to stop you, but
That's right, he did mention that. Sorry, my bad. Oh, dear. Okay. Administration is seeking approval of the proposed municipal business and industry growth strategy, AKA our economic development work plan. That was brought forward to the Committee of the Whole meeting back on October 19th, 2022. The strategy was developed to tailor to our unique and rural nature of the MD and to support local business and industry growth. It also builds upon the 2021 Regional Economic Development Plan, which was completed by the MD in partnership with the town of Bonnyville. The proposed business and industry growth strategy will focus on the following initiatives. It will enhance the business registry program, establish a commercial and industrial property listing, develop a community profile at the provincial, national, and international levels. It will establish a customer relationship management database. It will identify top shovel-ready projects for our region. It will establish target sector business meetings on a regular basis and establish an overall economic development brand presence. These tactics are the foundation of a municipal lead business and industry growth strategy. Attached for Council's review is the proposed municipal business and industry growth strategy. This is referring to our strategic plan. This does support goal number 1, which is building a prosperous and sustainable community. Within that goal, the major objective this falls under is to develop an economic development strategy inclusive of business attraction, retention, and expansion. All costs associated with this strategy and the implementation of this strategy have been included in the proposed 2023 budget during our deliberations last week. That being said, administration's recommended action is that council adopts the Municipal District of Bonnyville Business and Industry Growth Strategy as presented.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Looking for a motion, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Reeve. I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Swaggart, for making a motion on behalf of council that council adopts the Municipal District of Bonnyville Business and Industrial Growth Strategic as strategy as presented. Any discussion on this?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
2 questions. It's in there, in the plan that it's support the MD rebranding strategy. It's more of a statement that I'm not sure if I think it's a wise use of our money to go down the whole rebranding route. And then the other, that's more of a statement. The question would be, it's also in there, support implementation of Kinnessy Ridge Business Destination Management Plan. And that plan had, I think, the development of the French Bay Campground, which we don't think we can no longer do. So is that still, I guess, where do we stand with that then if we can't really implement that plan fully?
So through the Reeve, so specifically on the Kinnessy Ridge Business and Destination Management Plan, that is correct. French Bay was a small piece of that plan. However, about 80% of that whole plan is focused on Kinnessoo and the future developments and new components, or whatever council, as we move forward, decides to implement or not implement. So from an economic development standpoint, our specialist will assist in the promotion of and the bringing in of potential new business partners or investors or other potential partnerships for the realization of that destination management plan, given that council has adopted it. So that's kind of where that support is referencing. On the rebranding strategy, again, because of economic development being a very, it's the face of the industry. You are going out and you're generating industry investment and new businesses to come in. So from an economic development standpoint, you have to take that into consideration when you're rebranding your region. If we were to turn around and rebrand ourselves as the bee capital of the world, that would have a major impact on economic development potentially. So his involvement, or economic development's involvement on our rebranding, is definitely a piece of that. Does that help?
Any other discussion? Yes, go ahead.
Scott's here.
You did a good job.
Leaving council, my sincere apologies. I understand now that we normally take a half an hour when we break, so
It's all good.
be prepared to answer any questions at this point in time.
Sure, come on up,
If
Scott.
Esther would allow me to do so. I really sincerely apologize.
It's not a hill to die on.
Okay, all right.
It's not a big deal. Esther did a really good job in your behalf.
Thank you very much,
Yeah.
Esther. Thank you.
Sorry,
No, that's
Councillor.
fine. Mr. Reeve, there, my question though was really, maybe not even for this forum, but it was just to get an update from yourself and maybe Esther about the Alberta Environment and Parks Initiative, when they actually they came and visited apparently and talked to you about trying to, enhance this area, kind of make it a destination, that sort of thing. I'm not sure if that's part of this, so it could be a later initiative, but no, this is all good. I'm in favor of it.
Councillor Swaggart, through Reeve, perhaps you might be speaking about when Travel Alberta was here?
And that was pretty
Recently,
recent,
was it in the last month?
right? Yeah.
Okay, so what I can tell you is that the government of Alberta has reformulated their approach to tourism, as they have a department for tourism and for travel, and they have committed to doubling their tourism revenues between now and 2035, and part of that process has them committed to being involved in product development, not just marketing, something that they had done in the past. And so what they've endeavored to do between now and the beginning of March is to do a tour throughout Alberta and identify some assets and some perhaps investment opportunities for product development. And in that process, they've identified 6 different tourism zones that they feel have a higher propensity for return on investment. And so over the last month or so that they've been investigating that. And we've met a number of times with them as an organization here individually. And most recently last week, or was it earlier this week, sorry, there was an event in St. Paul where they brought all the folks together as administrators and operators in the Lakeland area and put together a visioning session that would talk about the objectives over the next so many years to 2035 to achieve those goals and identify investment opportunities. So I hope that's what the question that you were asking, and I answered it properly.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm glad you came back.
Yeah, and again, my apologies.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion on this motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, that's carried. We're on to 9.3.8. Back to Esther.
Yes. Administration has received a request from the Women of Influence organization requesting the MD of Bonnyville to sponsor their 2023 awards event as a $1,000 sponsor, specifically as an award category sponsor, which includes 4 tickets to the event and the opportunity to introduce and present an award category. The event will be held in Cold Lake on March 3rd, 2023. Attached for council's information is the sponsorship request in Appendix A. Historically, council has sponsored this event in 2018, 19, and 20. No event sponsorship request was received in 21, most likely due to the pandemic. For the 2022 awards event, council approved a $1,000 sponsorship. However, the event was canceled due to the ongoing pandemic restrictions. Consequently, the organization had requested the funds be carried forward to support their next event in 2023. However, at the February 9th, 2022 regular meeting of council, council directed administration to request the return of that sponsorship as per resolution 22.088 and to consider any future events funding requests closer to the event date. This event is in line with our Goal 3 of our strategic plan to promote community development. The costs associated with this is $1,000 to be paid from the donation, sponsorship, and recognitions policy budget in 2022. Administration is recommending that council approves a contribution in the amount of $1,000 as an award category sponsor towards the 2023 Women of Influence Awards event as requested by the Women of Influence Committee to be funded from the 2022 Planning and Community Services operating budget.
Thank you. Yes, Deputy Reeve Fadeev.
Yeah, it's a very positive event. Saying that, I'd like to go for council option number 1 to approve the $1,000 requested, including with the 4 tickets.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Reeve Fadeev. On behalf of council, that council approves a contribution of the amount of $1,000 as a award category sponsor towards the 2023 Women of Influence Awards event as requested by the Women of Influence Committee to be funded from the 2022 Planning and Community Service operating budget. Any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Just
Thank you.
for added clarity,
Yes.
Mr. Reeve, so there are 4 tickets to the event that is a part of the sponsorship. So
Yes.
we will be coming at closer to the event to see who we'd like to attend from
Okay.
council.
Yeah, thank you for that information.
Thank you.
Great job. On to corporate services, 941. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Reeve and Council. I'm delighted to be here to present the result of your diligent work. Council Committee of the Whole conducted operating and capital budget deliberations on November 15th, 16th, and 17th, 2022. During those sessions, committee directed administration to make several adjustments, which have now been incorporated into 3 final budget documents. Attached as Appendix A, the 2023 to 2025 operating budget, Appendix B, the 2023 to 2027 capital plan, and Appendix C, which is a summary of the committee-directed changes. Approval of an operating budget and a capital plan are a legislated requirement by the Municipal Government Act. As well, they provide clear direction and authority to administration to conduct the business of the municipality and to provide services to our citizens. Failure to approve an operating budget and a capital plan will result in a legislated requirement to approve an interim budget, operating budget, and may delay commencement of required work for the upcoming year. A capital funding provision within the 2023 operating budget was not fully utilized for the 2023 capital plan, and these funds are requested to be transferred to the cash flow reserve as per committee direction. The attached appendices reflect the Council Committee of the Whole direction to levy a 2% general tax that will be transferred to the bridge reserve and to provide financial stability, and an additional 1% environmental tax levy that will be transferred to an environmental reserve for future purposes. These transfers to reserve will come forward with the property tax bylaw. All of these recommendations do meet Council's strategic plan goal of building a viable and diversified regional economy. And the legislation that pertains to these recommendations is the Municipal Government Act, Section 242(1), and the Municipal Government Act, Section 245. The operating budget has an estimated impact of $1,782,000, which equates to a 3% tax increase. This amount is subject to adjustment upon the actual development of our property tax bylaw. The 2023 capital plan has a value of $20,107,481 and is fully funded by grants, reserves, and capital tax. Administration's recommendation is that Council approves the 2023 operating budget and the 2023 capital plan as presented in Appendix A and Appendix B respectively, attached to and forming part of this meeting's minutes. That Council approves a transfer of $1,268,579 to the cash flow reserve. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you.
Mr. Reed,
Yeah, Councillor Swigert.
just in Appendix A, maybe you can describe better your logic there for the totals in the proposed 2023 budget. I don't have a concern with it. It's just the number at the bottom was $1,782,330, but how is that a total though? I'm not sure, because if you look at the top under general municipal, it's 54 million. So I'm just trying to understand the way you put the table together.
So through the Reeve, currently, before Council approves, makes any approvals on this report, our end result of the deliberations for over the 3 days is a budgeted shortfall of 3%, so 2% for general tax levy and 1% for environmental reserve. And that's the value of that 3% shortfall. Once council approves this, the budget will be fully funded.
So the 1.782 million is actually the 3%?
That's correct, the combined total.
Okay.
Yeah, Counselor Crick.
I'll make the motion for option 1 to approve the budget as presented. We put a lot of work into it over the last week over the 3 days, and the staff did a great job preparing it. So I think we should approve it as presented.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that, Counselor Crick. So thank you, Counselor Crick, for making a motion on behalf of council that council approves the 2023 operating budget and the 2023 capital plan as presented in Appendix A and B attached to and forming parts of this meeting's minutes. Any discussion on this? Yes, Counselor Scarson.
Yeah, I've got a few things to mention here. So, first of all, the operating budget I think is pretty good. It's you know, to see us dropping it by 6 million is pretty good. And then I mean, I do have there's some areas that I'm concerned with. I mentioned it in deliberations, Kinnessee Ridge, the fact that we're still dumping 5.5 million compared to 4 million last year, up to 7 million in 2 more years is concerning. That doesn't include any of the capital, the 4 million we put in last year, the 2 million that we're putting in this year. So, you know, when I look back at our rec survey, I mean, we're still not hitting the targets that what people have asked for. And I think the way I feel is there's at least $2.3 million in the capital budget that is not necessary for this year. All we hear about is how dire in need we are of money, and we didn't even think twice about any of the P5s. You know, so I can't support at least the capital side of this budget, and I won't support it, for those reasons and others that I've expressed throughout the whole budgeting process, right? So.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other?
Thank you, Mr. Reeve. I kind of agree a bit with Councillor Scarson. I want to thank you also for your very hard work. And I just want to make one comment that I'm very, very truculent that the dock for Chicken Hill Lake was not passed. That's it. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also looking for a motion for cash flow reserve.
I'll make that motion, please.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Reeve Fideo, for making a motion on behalf of council. The council approves the transfer of $1,268,579 to cash flow reserves. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you. On to 9.5.1.
Good afternoon, Council and Mr. Reeve. A couple of items I have for you today. The first one is Policy 4A.019, Municipal Road Approach Policy Amendment. Administration is proposing amendments to Policy Number 4A.019, Municipal Road Approach Policy, to bring the document into alignment with recently passed bylaws and move the procedure to its own document as an administrative process. With the passing of the Master Rates bylaw effective January 1st, 2022, administration has been working toward amending all policies as needed to remove the rates and fees established through the bylaw. Furthermore, in April, council passed a bylaw eliminating the Municipal Planning Commission. Policy number 4A.019 requires amendments in response to the passing of both of these bylaws to remove the fees that are outlined throughout the document, as well as update any reference to the MPC. During the review, it was also determined that the policy would be best identified as a planning and community services policy, since the application and approval process for the municipal road approaches resides with planning and development. Additionally, administration is proposing to remove the procedure embedded within the policy document and replace it with a formal procedure instead, as this is an internal administrative process. The Committee of the Whole reviewed the proposed amendments to this policy on October 19th, 2022, and are recommending to Council that we adopt the amended policy as presented. And attached as Appendix A is the policy. So administration's recommendation is that Council adopts policy 3A.007, formerly 4A.019, municipal road approach policy as amended.
Thank you. Looking for discussion or to,
Yeah, I've got
yeah, go ahead.
discussion, I guess. So the way the policy is written, the way if we pass it as presented right now, if someone wants to widen their approach, they apply to the MD, they request from the MD a chunk of culvert, possibly a coupler. The MD may grant that, may give that to them, if they have it, I guess. If not, then not. And then the person that's applying for the approach, they go out, they do the grade, the clay, the base work, put the culvert together, and then they pick up the phone, they call the MD, and our staff go out and gravel that portion, that new portion of the approach for the little bit that's wider, which in my opinion, that's an excess expense on the MD, and the people that are doing the approach should just build the whole approach. And that's, so I think we should make an amendment to this policy.
Okay, anybody?
Yeah, thank you,
Councillor
sir.
Kraviak?
I don't agree with that. I have a question also, Mr. Bispalko. 2A, 1 and 2, where would a parcel exactly 80 acres fit?
Well, I would probably defer to planning and development, but it says 80 acres more or less. So,
But it says 80 acres more or less for number 2 as well.
correct. So, did you want to?
Sorry about that, yeah.
I'll get somebody who's a lot smarter than me on this to respond.
Don't say that.
Yes, so when we're doing permits and planning, if it's 80 acres more or less, so if somebody has a 78-acre parcel, it's close enough to 80 acres, we would allow the approach that way.
2 approaches,
Yes, so if you're close to it.
if it's close to it.
Yeah, yeah, that's why we do the more or less, not just a strict number.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Thanks, Brian.
I guess, Councillor Crick, if you wanted to,
Sure.
yeah, it's up to you.
I'll
I don't
make-
think she's going to go, but
Okay.
you can go ahead.
Well, it just seems like we know our staff's time is valuable, and if they're driving around the MD, they're not gonna send a gravel truck out, I don't imagine, and maybe CEO Hogan can correct me on this, but they're not gonna send a gravel truck out with a packer or a skid steer to gravel an approach without sending out a foreman first in a pickup truck to probably make sure it's ready for the other equipment to show up. It's just a lot of extra staff time, whereas if someone who's already doing the clay work, building the approach themselves, they can put the clay down, they just order the gravel, it comes, and they spread the gravel and they're done. And it's an inefficient way of doing it, having 2 different people building the same approach. So I'll make the motion that we approve this policy as presented with the amendment, let's see here, and just take out the last line in let's see, what section would that be? Section 4. Once the work has been inspected and approved by infrastructure services, the MD will re-gravel the approach up to the property line. So we can just remove that last sentence, and then whoever's building the
Yeah.
approach can build the whole thing. And it'd be a
I-
lot more efficient way of building it.
If I may,
Yeah.
Mr. Reeve, and to Councillor Crick's amendment, removing the whole sentence would remove the inspection by infrastructure services.
Okay.
So are you suggesting that we don't inspect them?
if you want to leave the inspection part in, then we can just remove the last half where it says the MD will re-gravel the approach up to the property line.
Okay, Stephanie just informed me that the inspection is going to be built into the procedure, so we can take the, okay, sorry, so
It'll line out?
it can all go out,
Okay,
because it'll be built into the procedure.
Okay, so,
I got a question, Mr. Reeve. Do you have to inspect an approach anyway? You still have to inspect it. Would you not want to inspect it before you gravelled it? Or,
yeah,
so it's like, yeah.
that's probably why we have that in place.
Yeah, and I got to ask another question. I didn't quite understand your point, Councillor Crick. So you're saying that the MD shouldn't build any approaches for residents, or?
This is talking about widening approaches. So if someone wants to widen their approach, they can apply to the MD, ask the MD for a section of culverts. If we have a culvert and a coupler, a small piece, a short piece, the MD may provide that, is what the policy says. It says may. And then it says here that whoever's applying for the approach, the landowner, except it's not on the landowner's property, it's in the road allowance. They go out, the landowner builds the approach, they put the culvert in, connect it, they do the clay and the compaction, but then they don't gravel it. The MD comes out and gravels that little strip that we just added onto the approach. And I'm saying that it should just be the landowner that builds the whole thing to our specifications, but builds the approach. It's a waste of money and time for our staff.
But lots of times they might not gravel it that second, there might be gravel trucks graveling the road or something, and they just come by and whip it in. That's one thing we,
So they're not gonna just gravel with a gravel truck, they're gonna come by with they have to bring equipment out there though, right?
yeah, but if they're graveling a road, their equipment's right there. They could be graveling a road 3 miles down the road, and the guy could just dump a little load there as the grader is going to the next thing. They talk to each other on radios, they just spread a thing. It's not a big deal.
Let me
Yep.
ask Brian then a question. To do this, would you do it with just the dump truck bringing gravel and a grader, or would you have to bring a skid steer or something else out to do this?
Through the Reeve, to Councillor Crick's question, I guess it would be on a case-by-case basis. If it was a 2-meter wide extension versus a 10-meter wide extension, bringing a dump truck to dump some gravel there would be easier on the 10-meter wide. Might be able to spread it easier, like in a pass with the truck. Something small like that for a smaller extension, it could require a skid steer. But again, I can't speak to all of them because each one might be different based on the merits of the extension.
Well, my point is, if it was a big deal, then our staff would tell us, hey, this is not a good situation for us, and they wouldn't want to do it. So they'd ask us that this doesn't work, but they haven't asked us that this doesn't work, so I don't know where we're going with this. But anyway, we'll go with it. Yes, who's got another reef? Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Reeve. There may be something in the middle. I think there's two reasons why this policy was originally generated this way. One is that by us providing the gravel and showing up, we inspect the culvert and the approach prior to it being gravel. These things, it's like doing an inspection, sustaining safety codes after a house is built to check the electrical. The second is the quality of gravel that's getting put on that. For example, we run our roads with a very particular gravel. This gravel and these approaches will be attached to our road, and we want to make sure that somebody's not going in with 3-inch pit gravel or pit run to gravel their driveway and that stuff will just end up migrating onto our road. I think maybe, and this I think probably solves our problem in terms of the inspection, but also may address Councillor Crick's concerns, is if it was built into the policy that the gravel was purchased directly from the MD. So that when after we've inspected it, we'll bring the load of gravel out, but we would charge the landowner for that gravel at whatever per ton, whatever that's worth, however much is going on. I'm just offering that as a potential compromise solution. It's not that big a deal to us. We don't do that many approaches every year. It doesn't have a huge cost attached to it, but there is obviously some cost. We are going out with the truck, and it is using inventory that we've purchased. So there obviously is some cost, but I don't think it's tremendous.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have, oh, sorry, go ahead, I guess.
In regards to that, though, I believe the MD has a sheet of paper that kind of specifies the requirements for building an approach. So it wouldn't matter where the gravel is purchased from. And I've personally subdivided a few acreages and built approaches. I built the whole approach, put the gravel on the pit run and everything. I did it exactly how the MD specification sheet was, and it was inspected after it was all done, and there's been no issues whatsoever with those approaches.
Okay, thank you. I'm just, thank you, Councillor Crick, for making a motion that council adopts policy number 3A007, formerly 4A019, municipal road approach policy, with further amendments to section 4, widening, deleting the last sentence of the clause as directed. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. This is defeated. Looking for another motion?
Mr. Reeve?
Yes.
I'll make the motion as presented.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Kraviak, for making a motion that council adopts policy number 3A007, formerly 4A019, municipal road approach policy as amended. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, then I'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you. On to 952.
Thank you, Mr. Reeve.
Yep.
This RFD is for the Road Use Agreement Pilot Program 2022 update. A motion at the March 23, 2022 regular meeting of council directed administration to implement a pilot program indicating no road bans and that council directs administration to ensure road use agreements for major industry are in place for a one-year term and report back to council with the results of the program for permanent decision. This program was implemented throughout 2022, and administration is bringing the results of the pilot program back to council for discussion. Spring thaw conditions in 2022 were very favorable to the roads, holding their structural integrity throughout the spring, summer, and fall months. Infrastructure Services issued 186 heavy haul agreements for 41 companies from January 1st to November 9, 2022. The agreements were issued for such items as aggregate hauling, oil and gas operations, heavy equipment hauling, log hauling, etc., and outlined preferred routes. The agreements also made the users responsible for any damages sustained during their haul. Infrastructure Services worked alongside with industry to assist in allowing them to complete their operations with the least amount of disruptions as the MD could provide. During the pilot program, transportation staff, consisting of the managers, foremen, truck drivers, grader operators, laborers, were diligent in monitoring the roads for deterioration. If deficiencies were identified, the companies were notified and the issue was rectified by either the infracting company at their cost or the MD, and the cost was billed back to the company. There were a very small number of these occurrences, and the pilot program was successful in its intent. Industry partners commended the MD for piloting such a program when neighboring municipalities were continuing to implement road bans. As this program was successful, it is recommended the MD continue with the program on a permanent basis, and that administration brings back policy 4A.002 road bans policy for council's consideration. So the administration's recommendation that council accepts road use agreement pilot program 2022 update as information, and furthermore directs administration to bring back policy number 4A.002 road bans policy to a future meeting of council as instructed for consideration.
Thank you. Looking for a motion. or discussion? Thank you, Deputy Reeve.
Yeah, thanks for the feedback. Really appreciate seeing the numbers, and there was a few, excuse me, a few challenges, and you guys overcame them. Really good. So what?
That's all right, you got some water?
I'll just grab this.
I know it's a sensitive subject.
Yeah. What do you have in place for things that might get missed? I know I called you last year on some things that were missed, and these agreements weren't in place. And how can we fix those with moving forward, I guess?
Okay, through the Reeve to Deputy Reeve's question and to all of council, there may be some companies of a one-off that might slip through the cracks. We are, like I said, we're trying to be as diligent as we can by inspecting the roads, and if we hear from councillors or residents that there are activities going on in areas that we know we don't have any record of, we go out and investigate that immediately. Like we're as diligent as we can be with the information we have at hand to get on top of these. And when we do find issues, we contact the companies that are doing things and saying, hey, you have to, sign up with the road use agreement, and for the most part, it's not an issue. Some of them may not be aware, or they say they're not aware, and but we get them signed up as quickly as we can.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Reeve, members of the council. One of the ways that we are going to be proposing to manage some of that is when we bring the new road ban policy back to council, we really liked what we saw this year. However, what we will be proposing, just to kind of put it in the back of your heads, is that companies who either don't or refuse to sign the road use agreement will have a road ban. So a little different this year, we had no road bans whatsoever. It worked pretty well, but we did have some companies who balked at signing agreements. And what we'll do for next year is there will be a ban if you don't have an agreement. If you have an agreement, they'll have no road ban. So those companies that don't want to sign they'll be fine. But if they get caught driving overweight on a banned road, then whatever penalties will apply. So that's one of the ways we're going to look at managing that for next year.
So
Yeah,
if I may, it'll be a hybrid of old practices and then what we piloted this past year. So.
Yeah, Mr. Reeve.
Yes.
Yeah, I know there were a couple of complaints in the Dupree area hauling full loads on the oiled roads, but I think you guys rectified that. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes.
There's no agreement doesn't have to be made with the farmers or anything, right? Or for that ban?
Through the Reeve to Councillor Slipchuk's question, we have not had any direction to have agricultural producers sign up with road use agreements. So we've been given no direction on that. It's for industry.
And through the Reeve, I would add that the road doesn't know whether the truck that's overweight is agricultural or industry.
So are you saying then that the farmers can drive overweight legally?
No.
Through the Reeve to Councillor Scarson, what I'm saying is that we have no direction to target agricultural producers.
So they can, is what you're saying? Mm-hmm.
Mr. Reeve, you wish you were a farmer, Councillor Scarson?
Pardon me?
You wish you were a farmer, right?
Lots of times I do, yes. Especially at tax time.
Any other questions or comments? All right, just looking for a motion.
I'll make that motion for option number 1, please.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Reeve Fideo. On behalf of council, that council accepts a road use agreement pilot program 2022 update as information, and furthermore directs administration to bring back policy number 4A002 road ban policy to a future meeting of council as instructed for consideration. Any discussion? Yes, Councillor Scarson.
So is the direction then just to turn a blind eye to farmers? Is that what it is?
I don't think it's a turn a blind eye. I don't think we just have
Well,
anything.
essentially it is.
So through the reef to council, this time of year, we don't worry about bans, and the road ban policy will come back to council prior to road ban season, so I'm assuming February, early March, maybe even January. Currently, we have not done anything with ag, hence my comment earlier that the road does not know the difference between an overweight farm truck or an overweight industry truck. It would be my opinion that a truck is a truck is a truck. If it's overweight on the road, it's overweight on the road. But to date, we have not been, ag has been virtually excluded from any road ban policy.
I know, I guess I'm a farmer here. I know when we load up to go anywhere to haul, we use our airbags, and when also with the, I guess I'm in logging, we always have scales on all our trucks. So, you know, to say that I've never came home with a load from the harvesting overloaded, I'd say I'm lying. I have. But, you know, if I'm caught by the guys on the overload, well, I'd be fine just like anybody else, I guess, right? You're not supposed to do that. But to say that I haven't been overweight ever, yeah, that'd be no way. I have. Go ahead.
Yeah, just a question. Have we had any concerns, though, in past years with farmers? I mean, I'm not sure if I'm concerned you're overweight. I mean, I guess that's illegal. But if you're damaging the road, that would be the issue, not just you're overweight. But have we had concerns in the past with farm vehicles damaging our roads?
Well, sure. It's probably in harvest mostly, right? When you're loading that truck right to the max lots of times. But a lot of the guys now are, when they're hauling grain, that's our main one that you're wrecking the roads. Most of the guys that are hauling grain now, they have carts and they have weight scales on them. So they know that their truck only hauls X amount of weight. So there's a guy with a calculator in the truck, in the tractor, and he'll dump in that trailer exactly a legal load, and away they go. Because it's not helping anybody if they're going. So a lot of the farmers are doing it like that now, so they know exactly what product they have in hand on the farm. So it's all down. So I think years ago everybody did way more overloads and stuff, but I think the farmers now today are a lot better. Yeah.
And through the chair to council, it's been my experience that the primary offender when it comes to agricultural overweights is typically the manure hauling.
Yes.
When they're spreading manure and manure hauling, they're just loading up a truck.
Right to the max.
Right to the max, hauling it out to the field. That typically tends to be the primary offender when it comes to overweight ag loads. And
most of our major things happen in the spring, you know, or also on a virgin road, right, that we built the year before or something. That's where we always have something on there, but yeah, it's usually in the spring where we're having most of our problems with bans. That's when road bans usually come on, is in the spring, correct?
For the reeve and to council, yes. We also have some issues during silage season,
Yes.
because typically that could be a wet time of year
Yes.
versus harvest when it's a drier time of year. So silage season takes a toll on the road as well.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think that anybody was accusing any farmers of doing anything illegal. I'm just saying that if we're applying this to one certain part of the industry, why doesn't it apply to everyone who uses the roads?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, so we've given, the motion is to bring this back to a future council meeting, but if there's no direction to bring it back with, for all users, then they're not going to bring it back for all users, right?
Yeah, I'm just reading what we're
I mean, you could say the same for every oil hauler. I'm sure they've all got the equipment to haul legally. Doesn't mean that they all do, right?
yeah.
If I may, Mr. Reeve.
Yes.
We can bring back, when we bring back this policy, we can bring back, you know, a couple of options as well to maybe, like, for council's discussion with the policy.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, Al?
And for clarity, it is
Yeah.
administration's position that all users should be treated the
That's
same.
correct.
That is our position. We just have never received that specific direction from council in the past.
Okay, well, let's look at this motion, and then we'll discuss this in upcoming, whenever it comes back to council here, right? Good. Any other discussion?
Well, do they need, I mean, every time we don't get something, we hear, well, we didn't have a motion on it. So do they need a motion today to say, bring back something with all users attached to it?
I'm pretty sure they got it loud and clear.
through the Reeve to Councillor Scarson, our policies will be for all users of the road when we bring it back.
We all heard you say that.
Well, and again, we'll bring it back. It's what's approved, so.
Yeah, as long as we've got the options to talk about, right?
Okay, that was good discussion. Any other discussion on the, did I read out the motion? It's been a while. I haven't? Okay. Thank you, Deputy Reeve Fideo, for making the motion on behalf of council. The council accepts the road use agreement pilot program 2022 update as information, and furthermore directs administration to bring back policy number 48002 road ban policy to a future meeting of council as instructed for consideration. I think I did that twice, but you guys heard it twice. Any discussion? Any other discussion? I think, yeah, we did say it twice. All right, I'll call for the vote then. That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you, council.
Thank you. On to 9.6.1.
Council.
Hey, good afternoon.
So at the October 26th organizational meeting, council approved moving the weekday for regular meetings of council and committee of the whole meetings from Wednesdays to Tuesdays. This decision prompted administration to review the procedural bylaw for any required amendments in response to this change, and has prepared an amending bylaw for council's consideration attached as Appendix A. During the review of the current procedural bylaw, administration did also use this opportunity to make a couple minor amendments to address administrative changes that have occurred over the past year or were missed initially with the implementation of the bylaw. So attached for council's review in Appendix A was the amending bylaw 1828, and Appendix B is the original bylaw 1787 along with its first amendment, which was done through bylaw 1793. So the primary changes for the, or amendments for the bylaw, again, just a couple small things. Section 6, subsection 6.1b is amended to delete 5 days and replace it with 4 working days. We made some changes to Section 7. Section 17. And that was about it. Administration's recommendation is that bylaw 1828, being a bylaw of the Municipal District of Bonnyville, to amend bylaw number 1787 procedural bylaw, be given first reading.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion or something like, yes, Councillor Scarson?
Well, just because Steph brought it up, I'll just reiterate my opposition to the Tuesday meeting, even though 2 councillors stated that they will find it tough to make Tuesdays. We still voted to move it to Tuesday, even though Wednesdays have worked for decades. So I don't know if this has got anything to do with that, but it's still should be known.
Any other discussion, any comments on that? Yeah, Councillor.
Yeah, I'll make comment. Like I've commented over the past, 8 years or whatever about, do we, maybe change some of our council meeting times even just so that we can get the people who are actually working to come to council, and as a councillor even, like a lot of councils are meeting in the evenings, right? Because, they're getting people out there that are working in the community. And now Councillor Scarson applied for councils, got elected as council, with the understanding that he's made, and he can attend Wednesdays. So I'm not all that happy that we're changing it to Tuesday, I guess, because, wait, if we're going to do that, sure, but wait until the end of the three years or whatever, and then the next guys that run for council know what the new dates and times are.
Yes, Deputy Reeve.
That being said, I also, when I got elected, I also was on the presumption of starting at 9:30 because that fit my schedule. I'm making my schedule do because now we're starting at 9 o'clock and I'm making some changes in regards to that. In regards to having people come here, we're on YouTube. people can pull up, you know, people can
Sorry, I
pull it
didn't mean
up.
people, I actually meant counselors.
Okay, so you want counselors to come at different times?
No, I'm just saying, make the point was somebody signs up as a counselor, runs for council because they know the dates and times and whatever, and so to kind of change it halfway through, it's kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, things change up all the time. RMA changes on a regular basis, and, but, I mean, that's just,
It is what it is.
Yes, Councillor Cravia?
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Eva, I understand what Councillor Carson is saying. I kind of agree with Councillor Schweiger to make the change for the next four-year term myself. Just my opinion as well. Thank you.
Anybody else want to comment? Yes.
So I guess I'm just a little confused. So this bylaw is to enable you to change the day, is that why you're here with this?
No, what this bylaw does, it is adjusts some of the timelines for getting things either submitted to administration for reports that come to council, or making the agenda available to council or the public prior to the meeting. Those timeframes are embedded within the bylaw, and a few of them did need to be adjusted so that they didn't fall now on a weekend or such things like that.
Yeah, so this, you need this to go ahead to be able to accommodate a Tuesday meeting.
Ideally, yes. If the changes aren't gone through, it just means some of us will have to do work over the weekends to meet those timelines.
So this affects you guys' jobs quite a bit from Wednesday to Tuesday?
Not really, no,
No?
it doesn't. There's really only one major change, which was the submission deadline for delegations, people requesting to come to council as a delegation. The timeframe, as it was indicated in the bylaw now, with Wednesday meetings, they have until Monday. And so we had to adjust the wording of the amount of days prior to the meeting to submit their requests so that it didn't fall on a weekend.
Yeah, Councillor, sorry, Councillor, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Reid,
Al.
members of council. When we backed up a council meeting by one day, we've got to back up all the other timelines by the same time. That's all this is. It doesn't make any additional work for staff. All this does is just backs everything up one day, because the council meeting is now be one day earlier into the new year, that's all. Nothing more, nothing less.
Okay. Yes, Deputy Reeve.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion there for option number one then.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Reeve Fadeev, for making a motion that bylaw 1828, being a bylaw of the Municipal District of Bonneville, number 87, to amend bylaw number 1787, procedure bylaw, to be given first reading. Any discussion on this? Go ahead, Councillor Crick.
I'll just add that it was
Yep.
a pleasure working with you guys.
Okay. All right, seeing no other discussion, I'll call for the vote. This is carried. Okay, on to 9.6.2.
Administration is presenting policy number 1.006, financial assistance for victims of fire policy, to be rescinded in response to direction that was received by council to discontinue the program. Policy number 1.006 is a municipal grant program that allows the CAO to authorize a one-time bursary in the amount of $2,500 to victims of fire that meet their criteria outlined within the policy. At a council workshop for the 2023 budget in October, council gave direction to discontinue this grant program. As such, administration is bringing forward the policy to be rescinded.
Thank you. Looking for discussion or a motion? Yes, Councillor Scarson.
Well, I'm not in favor at all, so, I mean, I don't know if I missed this maybe or what, but I don't remember having this discussion before. I know I heard about the chatter about it, but to me, I know I've handed out this check a couple times, and it sure puts a smile on the face of people who have lost their homes and whatnot, right? It helps them out in the interim, so to me, it's a small price to pay unless we're looking for money to pay for our capital stuff. I don't know why we would do this, but.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mr. Members of Council. This direction was received from council at the pre-budget workshop. We've also passed in the budget a methodology by which we will be sending out invoicing for fires. It would seem odd to me that we would give a check to somebody and then send them a bill afterwards. But anyway, in any event, we received this direction at the pre-budget workshop.
Thank you.
Mr. Reeve, to Mr. Hogan, what if they have no insurance for that?
That policy will be coming to council either in December or in early January, so I couldn't answer that question today.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Councillor Scarson as well on this. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, just, I guess, was that a direction from admin, though? What was kind of the logic? Was it, it's costing us too much money, or everyone has insurance, so we don't have to worry about it? I'm not quite sure what the logic was.
We discussed it at the pre-budget workshop, and I remember even the Reeve speaking to it, that it was time for this policy to go away. We're handing out $2,500 checks to people when they've had a fire, and now council's also agreed to try to recoup those costs by sending out invoicing. The two are mutually exclusive ideas. We send out a check and then we send out a bill. But in any event, this was discussed, and we said we would bring back this policy to rescind, and council at the pre-budget workshop said consensus was go for it.
Councillor Cravian?
Just wondering, how many checks did we give last year? Like 16, or remember? No, not that many. Just a few. 6? $15,000, that's it.
Any other discussion on this? Somebody want to make this motion?
I'll make the motion.
All right, thank you, Councillor Slipchik, for making the motion that council rescinds policy number 1006, financial assistance for victims of fire policy. Any discussion? Well, I guess I'll speak. Until we're having that policy in the new year to do that, Mr. Hogan, for fires and stuff, for insurance?
Yes, that will come very early into the new year, if not even into December, but likely first meeting or second meeting in January.
So could we keep this in order till we make a decision on that policy? Or is that not wise?
Well, we certainly could, but we did not budget for this in the 2023 budget.
Okay.
So, and that was discussed at the pre-budget workshop, that these funds, that 20, I think we actually budgeted $30,000 in 2022. That money would come out of the operating budget. That was discussed with council at the pre-budget workshop, and council by consensus said that's a good idea.
Yeah,
So now what I would suggest for this policy is this policy would stay in place till the end of December, because it was funded in the 2022 budget.
Okay.
But it would be officially come off the books on the 1st of January.
Okay, so it'll stay on till the end of December, till 2023?
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Reeve?
Yeah.
If I may, if someone would, or if you would like to amend the motion to say effective January 1st, 2023 in the motion. And then that's the clear direction for administration to maintain the program for the remainder of the year.
Could we make it till we have a different policy in place? Could we word it like that? Or that's not good? That's not a good way to do it,
It wouldn't be very clear because we don't really know what that will look like yet.
right? I don't know how soon that policy is coming. You said early in January? First, what? So it'll be within a week or so of January, out of the holidays?
The first meeting in January is January 10th.
Sorry?
The first meeting in January is January 10th.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Councillor Scarse.
Yeah, I guess I don't really understand why the two are exclusive to each other, because, you know, you're billing someone for the use of your fire apparatus, going through insurance, that'll take weeks or maybe months to pay out, as opposed to giving someone a helping hand days or maybe even next day after their fire to help them with getting set up in a hotel or getting the food or clothes they need to get by. I don't know why the two are together. Like, to me, it's one over here and one over here. It's completely different. You know, if we were saying that insurance wasn't covering the $4,000 and they're just giving back the $2,500, I mean, maybe that's a different story, but we already said that anyone who doesn't have insurance to cover this $4,000, we're just gonna let it go by the wayside anyways. So, to me, it makes no sense. It's such a minute number that, like I said, I've handed these checks out, and people are, when they're crying because they've lost everything they own, and it helps a lot to go a long way. So I'm just so opposed to this one. It's not even funny. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think, Mr. Reeve, that's a very good comment, Councillor Scarson.
And I'm sorry, I just don't remember discussing this one earlier. I don't know if I wasn't there or what the heck, but
Yeah, sorry.
Can we just table this till our first meeting in January? And I know our budget, I'll actually make a motion to table it till the first meeting in January.
A motion to table would supersede the motion on the floor.
Yeah. He
A
has to
motion to
rescind
table would
before you can
supersede.
table that.
What's that?
What's that? He has to rescind
You
that.
could choose to make the motion to table right now if you chose.
He can, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
your plan is to make the motion on one of the Tuesdays I won't be here, or what? Good idea. Good idea.
That wasn't the plan at all.
Okay, so is that a motion of yours or not?
Yeah, to table until the first meeting in January, just to give us more time to think about it. There's money in the budget still. We've heard we've only given out 6 or 8 of these, and there was $30,000. If we don't, there's probably enough to carry us through into the first part of January anyways, and then we can talk about it then.
Okay,
Just give
this
us-
motion's been tabled then. You need a,
So sorry, you just want to table it to the January 10th meeting? Is
Yeah.
that correct? Okay, we would still need to vote, I think. Do we still need- Yeah.
That's
Sorry-
it.
Sorry, to the first council meeting in January,
ta-
Yes.
that's
because we don't
January
have a
10th.
January 10th meeting set as of yet.
We do still need a vote on that.
Sorry?
We do still need a vote on that.
Okay, I'll call for the vote.
So, sorry, when someone tables a motion, that just ends all discussion about it now? So for whatever
Yes, it
reason,
does.
I can just table a motion because I don't want to talk about it anymore?
Yeah,
Okay.
It's
but it has to be voted on,
the motion to table.
Approved by council.
because if it's not approved, then it goes back. I see the gears turning in that head there.
If the motion to table doesn't pass the vote, then it doesn't matter.
Oh, it's a council tables item. Yeah.
Just a point, though, that says January 10th, and it should read the first meeting in January, because we don't have a January 10th meeting scheduled yet. We did first reading on the
No, you
bylaw.
do. You guys scheduled all your 2023 meetings at the
Okay.
organizational
Okay.
meeting.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Reeve. So is that January 10th on a Tuesday?
Yes.
Yeah, but the bylaw still needs second and third reading, no?
No, The bylaw has nothing to do with the dates.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
done through motion. Yeah.
Okay, this is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you as well. I don't even know where we're at here. 971? No? 971.
Thank you, Mr. Reed, members of the council. Council has received several invitations. One in particular is a no-charge event, the Cold Lake Regional Chamber of Commerce Annual Chamber Christmas Mixer. The Cold Lake Regional Chamber of Commerce is hosting their annual Chamber Christmas Mixer at the Chamber office on December 7th, 2022, from 5 till 7 p.m., and council has been invited to attend. As well, council has also been invited to the Cold Lake Senior Society Annual Christmas Party on December 3rd, 2022. The Cold Lake Senior Society is hosting their annual Christmas party at the Senior Center on December 3rd, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. As invited the Reeve to attend. The cost for attending this is $30 per person, which includes dinner and entertainment, and attached are the two invitations. I would remind the council and the Reeve that December 3rd is also the MD Christmas banquet.
And Maker. Pine River Fire Department's on that day too.
Our administrative recommendation is that council approves the attendance to the Cold Lake Regional Chamber of Commerce to be attended on December 7th by a councillor of council's choosing, and probably to direct administration to send a letter to the seniors, Cold Lake Seniors Christmas, or Cold Lake Seniors, that unfortunately
Tell them what's happening.
council had a previous engagement.
So who would like to go to the Chamber Christmas Mixer? Deputy Reeve Fideo?
Yeah, I've been in that one for the last 16 years, so I can
He'll be there.
probably join in.
Anybody else would like to join? Okay.
You are aware there's a light up Ardmore that night as well, eh?
Yeah, that's Ardmore Light Up Night, right? Cherry Grove the night before, 6th, right? Okay, well, Deputy Reeve Fideo is going to go for sure. Thank you, Al.
And the third invitation, which isn't on the sheet, I just received just a few minutes ago an email from the City of Cold Lake.
Yeah.
There has been some discussion back and forth about a tri-council dinner. The City of Cold Lake is hosting on December 12th at the Best Western. Doors will be open at 5:30 and the dinner for 6 p.m. Mayor Copeland is asking that each community could take 5 to 15 minutes and brief everyone on issues faced in 2022. Thoughts on what 2023 might look like, including significant capital projects or initiatives, and letting the group know what tax increases were planned through the budget, so we all have an idea what our neighbors are doing. So I just received that literally here a few
About
minutes
10
ago.
minutes ago? Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
So council is invited to that. We can certainly respond. They would just like to know how many will be attending, so we can certainly respond once we get those numbers from council.
Okay. Thank you, Al.
Didn't we get an invite for that the other day?
Well, a while ago we did, but nobody confirmed anything, so Al just reached out. I reached out to the mayor yesterday, and then they sent, I guess they sent us back information at the same time. Or-
Yes, they've just confirmed location and time.
I guess we're on to correspondence now?
Mr. Reeve?
Yes.
If we could just get motions.
Oh, I apologize.
No, that's okay.
All right, looking for a motion that council accepts the following. Anybody like to make that motion? Sorry? Oh, did I miss that one?
We have one motion for, that we need for attendance to the Cold Lake Regional Chamber of Commerce Annual Christmas Mixer on December 7th, and then we need a motion to approve attendance to the Cold Lake Seniors Christmas Party if you so choose to attend that.
Okay, I see no, okay. All right, would someone like to make this motion? Yes, Councillor Crick? Yes, thank you, Councillor Crick, for making a motion that council approves attending the Cold Lake Regional Chamber of Commerce Annual Christmas Mixer on December, that was what, day 7th? Okay. 2022, to be attended by Deputy Reeve Fideo. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, call for the vote. That's carried, thank you. Need another motion?
So sorry, just to clarify, the other motion is approving the Reeve to attend the Cold Lake Seniors Christmas Party and potentially any other members of council. We just want to remind you that December 3rd is also the municipality's Christmas party as well.
Yeah, so we won't be attending, so do we need a motion?
No.
Okay, so then we're on to, sorry?
Well, I think, with Holger mentioned, we'll send a letter telling Christmas party.
Sure.
Yeah, we don't need a motion for that, but we'll
We'll do
send a
that.
letter for the Reeve signature, thanking them for the invitation.
We don't need a motion for a Cold Lake meeting either. So we can go on to correspondence now, correct?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Reeve, members of council. So what you have in front of you is a list of the correspondence. There's 20 items plus the council action report. I won't go through them in detail. I frankly don't have a lot of information about a bunch of them anyway, but it's certainly the correspondence we've received over the course of the last 2 to 3 weeks.
Would anyone want to comment in any of these 21? Deputy Reeve Fideo?
One sec, there was one that I just noted. Unfortunately, didn't get highlighted yet.
And Mr. Reeve?
Anybody, yeah?
Yeah, number 15 maybe, Mr. Deputy Reeve. 15
Actually, yeah, it was 11.
Was it?
So 10, 11 in regards to the family violence one. When was the Zoom on that one? I didn't get a date on that one.
Mr. Reeve?
Yes.
Looks like the date on that was November 1st from 1 o'clock till 2:30 in the afternoon.
I'll go to that one.
EDT.
Okay,
Good luck.
thanks.
Mr. Reeve,
Yes.
the number 15, the
you
victim
done?
services redesign, interesting because it sounds like the province is trying to centralize victim services. And so they're going to pull it out of a lot of communities, so I'm not sure what that even does for us. I don't know. I'm not sure if we should ask somebody to look into it and see how that will affect the MD, and it looked a little serious to me, but maybe I'll ask CAO to have Mr. Gandolfi just check into number 15 there and see if that's important to us.
Oh, we can certainly do that.
Thanks.
Any other? Well, then I'm just looking for a motion. Yep, thank you. Councillor Kraviak making a motion that council accepts the following correspondence as information, 1 through 21, I believe. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote. That's carried. All right, I guess we're just going to reports from members of council. Who would ever like to start? Go ahead.
Well, Mr. Reeve, I guess I'll start.
Right on, Mike.
I had November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd HSAA negotiations, bargaining. Long days, 8:30 to 4:30. One day was 8:30 to 2:30. Made good progress. We set aside 3 more days in November, and 3 more in December. I had a VSI virtual meeting, and most of the funding is 50-50 from the MDs and counties. There are 3 that are 60-40, and 1 is our neighbor, Lac La Biche. Some have caps and some do not. I just received an email from VSI, from the vet, and I'll pass that on to you. Maybe Mr. Jans, you can pass that on to Mr. Hogan and all council. Okay. Farm Family Awards, Councillor Crick and I attended to support the Wogolchuk brothers from Ryan River. There was a very nice reception for them. Had a police meeting, very busy as usual. Went to the FCS SAA conference. The theme was Stronger Together. Minister Nixon was a guest speaker Thursday morning. And he talked about how his dad was kicked out of his foster home from his stepdad when he was 12 years old, and then he started the mustard seed. So he's the one who started the mustard seed in 1984, and was an interesting speaker, very supportive of FCSS, which is good to hear. I went to a session on mental health, and there's a website called AGKNOW, AGKNOW, to help support the farmers and veterinarians who are suffering from depression. It was a very good session. The closing keynote was Body Break, Hal Johnson and Javad McLeod. They talked about healthy eating, being active, and there's a website, makehealthlast.ca. And the best for the last, Kayla Blanchette from the town of Bonneville is the new president of the Northeast region of FCSS. I know she's listening, so congratulations, Kayla. Is this live? Oh, it's just on YouTube, right? Okay. I didn't vote for her because she was acclaimed. And we have a guy from Westlock. His name is Morty. I forget his last name. He was elected president of the FCSSAA, so that's good news for the Northeast region. And went to the EMS Christmas staff party on the 19th. Councillor Crick and I attended that as well, so very nice reception. So that's all for me. Thank you.
So just a quick one on Riverland Recreational Trail Society meeting. So last one, they talked about the Alberta Snowmobile Association working with the Cold Lake Snowmobile Club, because Cold Lake Snowmobile Club is going to take over kind of maintenance and upkeep of the trail from Crane Lake to Tucker Lake, so that we call it the Husky Trail. And interesting, the ASA group has QR codes on their sign so that anybody who's there can scan it with their phone, and if they are willing to pay toward that, you know, ASA trail operations, they can, I don't know what the fees are or whatever, but generally people that are on part of these groups do pay a certain amount per year to run on the trails, so that's kind of interesting. And I've been working with Marvin Bjornstad with Riverland Trail, so he's got a source of a bunch of 8-foot by 40-foot engineered bridges that apparently Calling Lake has in an inventory that they're not using, and I've passed that on to CIO Hogan, and we've had talks over the years about getting one of these little bridges for an area out at Crane Lake that crosses the Weir, so it may be something that we can look at, because basically it was a donation that they had no use for them, so they were basically giving them away, so I'm not sure what the details are yet. But the other comment was Pedigo e-bikes is a big electric bike company, but they've out of Edmonton, they're interested in setting up electric bike rentals on the Iron Horse Trail in a couple of different areas, and it could be in Cold Lake or wherever. So that was kind of neat that people could come out and hop on an electric e-bike and ride a trail.
I'll go next here. Yeah, so the Cherry Grove Volunteer Appreciation Night was on a Saturday, the day before RMA. That was very well attended. I had during RMA, I had a ARB complaint hearing that I attended via Zoom. That worked out really well. Thanks, Stephanie, for setting that up. And a Remembrance Day ceremony in Coal Lake, and besides that, with just RMA and everywhere else. Thank you.
So on the October 27th, had an FCSS meeting. We welcomed Andrea Woods to the board there from the EMD. November 2nd, we had a meeting at the Fort Kent Hall, and thanks to Al and Esther for coming out to that. It went quite well. There's a new group of volunteers that stepped up and are going to be running the hall in the future here. November 4th, we had a Northeast Ag Service Board meeting in Ashmont. And on the 5th, we had Station 5 pay night for the Bonnyville Fire Station in town here. It was a good night. We had an opportunity to thank them all for all their service. And the Bonnyville firefighters are Station 5, but they also respond to almost all the calls in the MD as well. They come out to a lot. Stations, on the 7th, just before RMA, I had a EMS accreditation meeting. Basically, they come in, a third party comes in, does a report on different aspects of the BRFA to give the accreditation for the EMS division. Then RMA, and then on the 11th, Remembrance Day service here in Bonnyville. That was a good service. It was kind of cold, but outdoors, but it was well done. Lots of people are there. And then Family Farm Awards with Councillor Kriviak later on that day. And then on the 19th, we had the EMS Christmas party. And Councillor Kriviak did a great job thanking everybody for their services. And that's it for me.
Okay, on November 4th, we attended the ASB shop, Councillor Crick and I, in Ashmont, and that was a very interesting meeting. We found out there was a lady speaking about the Hutterite colonies, and I didn't even know this, but the Hutterite colonies contribute $2.1 billion to Alberta's economically, and as well, I'm sure we've all heard where people say that they don't pay taxes, but they do pay a substantial amount of taxes, so that's a fact. And so I just like to make that aware of everybody. Attended the RMA in Edmonton here on November 6th to 10th. That was very interesting, meeting with other councillors from other areas and discussing things. As well as I really enjoyed the meeting, the budget deliberations. That was a lot better than last year. Kind of understood more this year than I did last year, so that was a help. And hopefully as we continue going, and the staff for explaining everything and detailing everything was great. Thank you.
The only thing I have to report is the library meeting that I attended. It was, we did a whole org change there. They hired a new manager and have a couple new committee members. I would just like to say Dave Sharoon was off of the library committee after 12 years serving there, so thank you for his service. That's about it.
Thank you.
Can I just comment one
go
more thing?
ahead, yeah.
There's, the wind farms are starting again in the county of St. Paul. And there's one, I just got a phone call from one of my taxpayers. They're building a wind farm very close to his residence, and he's concerned. So there was a meeting in Elk Point, so I'm not sure what it's all about, but they were trying to do these wind farms in the MD about 5 years ago, so they put a stop to that somehow, so I'm not sure what's happening now. He doesn't want that wind farm just, I'm not sure, less than a quarter mile from his house, so a lot of noise and to put up with, so I'm not sure what we can do for him as well. I'll keep you in touch what he needs.
Yeah, I guess Deputy Reeve Fideo and I don't know if you remember that website that guy was talking about. Do you remember? It's just one thing for our residents, I guess, that Deputy Fideo and myself attended kind of a mayor's and Reeves thing just before the RMA conference, and there was a guy that stood up, and I wish I could remember. But I'll find it out if you guys, if anyone's coming, you make sure you know what you're signing before you sign something, because at the end of the day, when it's all done and said and done, you could be paying for the recommendation
Reclamation.
of the proposed property that they're taking from you, and that could be in the, you wouldn't be able to afford it, so you got to be careful what you're signing.
Yeah, just one more comment. He said the person who signed up doesn't live there, so he doesn't really care. He doesn't, the noise will not affect him, so what it does affect his neighbors. And all the people in the county of St. Paul are against this. I think they hired a lawyer to see what they can do.
Right, right. Well, I'm not telling you what to do with your land or not, but I'm just making sure that you, before you sign something or do something, that you get somebody that really knows about it, because it could really be detrimental to yourself in the future. Yeah, also, I guess I got an award when I was in the, not that I deserved it or anything, it was a Jubilee Award from the Queen. I was very honored to accept that. I also, I was given the opportunity to put out a couple names from our region here. I chose 2 names. One of them, I'll just mention his name anyway. His name was Mr. Vic Sadlowski. This man's done a lot for our area throughout the years, and I thought he was a good candidate to receive this medal, and his wife had informed me that he had already received it at the 60-year Jubilee. So they are very honored that I was thinking about him, but they refused. And then I also, Mr. Greg Hamel from Hamel's Meats in Cold Lake. He's another gentleman that does so much for our area that I thought he would be. So we set a thing, and he was successful. You can send the application, doesn't mean you're going to be successful. So yeah, I'm proud to announce that he's going to accept this award for our area. So he phoned me the other day, kind of a fun fact, and he was thanking me for nominating him, and he says I'm allowed 2 other people at the presentation. So obviously my wife and then my mother, his father passed away, so he phoned his mom and asked her if she'd like to attend this. And she says, son, I'd love to attend this, that'd be great. He says, well, on such and such a date, there's going to be an airplane at Bonneville Regional or the MD Regional Airport, and we're going to fly to Ottawa. And she was like, what? So he pulled the wool over. That presentation will be on December 1st here in the Neighborhood Inn, and our MLA will be presenting those awards to many people in this area, I believe. So yeah, other than that, that's about all I have, and yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so that article was under Progressive Cattle, and was November 25th of 2020 was the article. And the article pretty well says, creating a profitable coexistence with wind energy and ranching.
Thank you, Deputy Refideo, for looking that up while I was yakking there, so appreciate that. Anybody else with any final comments? We have in camera? No? No. I'm just looking for a motion to adjourn then.
Everybody.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Slipchick. Great job, everyone. Yes, I'll call for the vote. And I didn't mention that you guys all did a great job during budget as well, so I should have done that right off the bat. Some shut them off. I'll just have a show of hands then. All those in favor? Or press yes. It's carried, even with your computer off, Mike. It's amazing.